Greetings, everyone.
Greetings. Yes, greetings, like Jill says.
This is I'm Right,
I'm right.
and I'm Jill Cox Cordova.
I'm Anthony Cordova. I am. There's settings better now. Yeah, now they can probably hear me.
They could hear you before.
Barely. It wasn't quite set right. Wasn't quite set right.
If you say so.
So here we are again. I'm right. I'm right.
I'm right.
I'm right.
I'm right.
I am so right. I am always right. Not always. Not always. I'm not always.
I think you meant
right.
hardly ever.
No.
I think that's what you meant to say.
I'm not always right, but quite often.
You meant to say hardly ever.
No. Quite often I'm very, very right.
No.
I need to be.
Need to be? Or
Yes,
want to be?
I need to be. This is what I do in my other show.
What's what you do in your other show?
I need to try to be right in my new show.
Oh, well, that's that show.
This
show you're not. That's not who you are in this show.
I don't need to steer anybody in the wrong direction. I need to be right.
That is right.
Yeah.
But in this show, that's not the case.
Yeah, I'm also right.
Right.
Yeah, that's
No.
it.
Anyway.
Yes, we're going
We're going to talk to ourselves about quitting jobs. So
we can do.
I don't think there's a true stance on it unless we give advice about when you should quit a job. How many jobs have you quit in your adulthood?
The question is, how many jobs have I had, and then how many of those have I quit?
Well, you've quit all of them, but how many have you had?
I don't know how many I've had. Let's count. My first, working for myself is in my blood. I started cutting grass when I was young, cutting grass.
I'm talking about adulthood.
And adulting job?
Yes.
Or you mean
since you've been an adult, jobs that you've had where you had an employer. That's tonight's topic.
I don't know.
Well, you were getting ready to count. Know.
I was going to count from when I was a teenager.
No, count when you were an adult.
Because
I think we all quit the jobs we had as teenagers.
First job as an adult.
Architectural draftsman, maybe?
Oh, I forgot about that.
Okay.
Yes, I was an architectural draftsman. I worked for a company designing bathroom partitions. Ooh, that was exciting. That was very exciting. That was very exciting. Very exciting.
Doesn't sound like it. And how long did you last? Do you remember?
I started working there when I was probably 20 and a half or something like that. And I left when I was 22.
Oh, you stayed longer than I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, that's when I moved to Georgia.
Okay.
And then I learned how to drive an 18-wheeler. My brother trained me, and I worked for him for a bit. Then I bought my own truck and worked for myself.
Okay. But we're still back to jobs you've quit.
How many jobs? Every job I've ever taken, I ended up quitting.
But how many is that?
I don't know. There were like in between jobs, making changes in life. Let me see. The next actual job I had was working for a company called Square D. They made electrical switch boxes.
That doesn't sound like fun either. And welcome, May, to the show.
Hey,
welcome.
May, how you doing? Yeah, so I worked there maybe a year, maybe a year, then quit and became an owner operator again.
Okay, so that's 2.
And then I can't remember whether this was before or after the Square D place I worked for. But I was an operations manager for a trucking company. And I lasted about a year and I quit. And then more owner operator. Well, I was still, even when I did that job, I was still a business owner. I worked for someone else, but I also had my own business. And usually I had a business. So there's, you know, any job I've had, I've always considered them to be temporary jobs. So I can't say that I really count them. They're just to get me to the next step, to the next business, to,
But
whatever I
isn't
was
that
going to do.
often why people quit a job? So it's just a, a filler
Uh,
until
n-
the the
n-
right thing comes along?
I don't think so. A lot of people look for that job they can get there, stay, and retire, get a
But how many
pension.
jobs like that exist now?
Well,
Like
there's not a
back in
lot of them.
previous generations, that was the thing, but I don't think that's the case anymore
Yeah.
for most people.
So I don't know. I don't even think I need to count how many jobs I quit. I I mean, really, I don't. It's a given.
It's a given that you're going to quit a job.
Yes,
Okay, yes,
it's a
that is
given.
true. May is saying hello. She almost got
Hello.
distracted again, then focused. Went, oh yes, time to appear, and here she is. Welcome, welcome.
Poof,
Like woo.
like I dream of Jeannie. And she's bling, and
Yep.
she's just
I
there.
always wanted to have that power.
I wonder if
That and the bewitched
the
nose.
bewitched nose. Can you move your nose like that, Joe?
Mm-mm.
I
Well,
mean,
not without.
yeah.
I was Tabitha. You know. So, for me,
Yeah, I
I
could do
counted
it.
just before the show started. I've
Yeah.
had since the time I was 21.
Hmm.
I have had 11 jobs.
How many did you
Well,
quit?
I'm sorry. I've counting the one I have now. I have 12 jobs, and I've quit 11.
Huh.
And the first job I had, and hi Monica, welcome. Um, the
Hello,
first job
Monica.
I had like right out of I went from undergrad to grad school back to back. And so, right out of grad school, 3 weeks later, I started my first job.
Cool.
And 4 months in,
You
I
quit.
got promoted because one of the producers left and went to work
Uh-huh.
for Oprah. And she recommended that I be promoted to her job.
Mm-hmm.
And I did do her job. The problem was he didn't take me away from the previous job I had.
Oh, so now you had two jobs in
And
one.
in one,
And then did you
and
get more money?
well, my job, I was allowed to get overtime, and hello, Chris, welcome.
Chris
Um,
Rossetti
I was allowed to get
is in the house.
overtime, but I kept asking my boss, like, I can't work 6 days every single week.
Correct.
I understand when it's an all hands on deck situation, but
Mm-hmm.
at 6 days a week, every week, as a schedule, that doesn't work for me. And he was like, you should be glad that you have a job. He actually said that.
Yeah.
And so I stared at him. And after,
Then you say, I quit.
no, I
Take
started
this
looking
job and
for.
shove it. Is
Why
that what you take this
you keep
job
putting
and
words in
shove
my
it?
mouth? No, I
Trying to
kept
help you.
I kept working.
Mm-hmm.
But I told um one of my previous professors who was the secretary of a national journalism
Mm-hmm.
organization. So he knew all about all the jobs
Mm-hmm.
across the country. So I told him the situation, and he called me back and got me set up with an interview at the next station that I worked for. All of that took 10 months. And then 2 weeks before I left, 2 weeks before I got the job, so maybe a month before I left,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
whenever you had overtime, you had to write the reason why.
Right.
And normally I would just put, I had to work the week, I did the weekend show and my job, my other job.
Mm-hmm.
But on this one, I was mad. So I was like, for the, 6 month in a row, I've been working 6 days a week, and the boss won't listen to me. He won't give me a break. He won't give me days off. Blah blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah blah. Well, I didn't realize that anyone actually read those.
Okay.
So it was a privately held company, privately owned company,
Right.
and the president himself read it.
Okay.
And I was in the newsroom that day when he came running into the boss's office, and the boss had a glass office,
Yeah.
glass doors, glass windows, and you could see that it was a heated discussion, but I had no idea it was about me.
Okay.
So basically, he told him that he had to give me the salary of the promotion and the overtime.
All right.
And it was, retroactive.
Mhm.
And start giving me 2 days off, but or hire someone immediately. That was the thing that really got me. He was not trying to hire anyone
Right.
else
Right.
to fill my old position.
Mhm.
So he did that, but I had already gotten the other job, so I still left.
Yeah.
So that
So
was the
you quit.
first job, and then I always had reasons.
Did you ever say take this job and shove it?
Well, on my very last day
Of which job?
of that job,
Okay.
I always get bold when I know I'm leaving a place.
Bold? Is that
Bolder, I should say, because I'm bold
I
anyway.
thought you were bold, yeah, when you walk through the door.
Yeah, but I get
Does it say,
bolder
"Look
when
at
I'm
me.
walking out the door.
I'm Jill Cox Cordova.
That is not how I move
Just,
or talk.
Look at me. I'm Jill Cox Cordova.
That is, I never look or sound that way. But anyway, he on my last day, everyone was, like giving me little gifts as goodbye and all of that. And I was in the parking lot, and people were saying goodbye in the parking lot. And the news director comes running out, and he looked like Santa Claus. He was that big, and he had the white beard and everything. He looked like
Right.
Santa Claus. And came running to me, and he's like, I'm really, I guess I should say that I'm sorry this all went this way, that I really did you wrong. And I guess he expected me to say, okay, I forgive
it's
you.
all right.
But I said, yes, you did.
Yes, you did do
Yes,
me
you
wrong.
did. You sure did. And his face, like he was all smiling, and his face fell. And there was one other person who witnessed it, and he was like, "You should be nice to him." I'm like, why?
I'm out.
I'm out.
I don't have to be
There
nice
is no
to him.
reason. I said, but I did thank him for giving me my first job in the business and for teaching me how bosses can be.
Okay.
I learned a big lesson from that whole experience.
Okay. Well, look, and I wonder if the audience has any insight on, like, because what I want to discuss is, when should a person quit their job? When is it that time?
My gauge has
And-
changed over
and-
time.
And there's Chris. Let's get Chris up here.
I hit accept, so he should.
There's
Yeah.
Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Chris Rossetti from the streets of San Francisco.
Well, good evening. How are you both?
Good evening.
Good. How are you, Chris?
I'm scared.
You're scared? Why?
My wife's here and she said, don't bring me into this.
I think you should listen
Actually-
to her.
Hey, Chris, your wife didn't put you in a closet, did she? I think it sounds like you're in a closet hiding.
No, that's
it
just
doesn't.
the size of the apartment. That's just the size of the apartment.
Okay.
No, she said that a lot of times. Can I say what she said?
Yeah.
They can hear you. You can say it yourself.
I
heard her.
Chris's wife.
Hi.
She said yes.
Okay. She said
She does exist. She does exist. Oh,
She's
wow.
real. She's real.
Unreal.
she said that a lot of times women will not speak up about an injustice on the job for fear of not whatever keeping the job, I guess. But also, men tend to just walk in and say, "Hey, you cheated me on the pay." They go right at it. So why do you think that would be?
Well,
I will let you answer that. And then I'll weigh in if you don't say everything.
well, I'm going to go to discrimination in the workplace
Mhm.
against women. So women have learn that they have to walk lightly. Now, this is beginning to change, and I wish it would change a lot faster. What? You okay, Jill?
I disagree,
Any,
but go ahead.
and well, that's good because I'm right. I'm right. You know, that's the show. So women just have been walking a little lighter, and like I said, I hope the workplace is changing to where women can get the pay that they want. They can get the rights they want within their job. I mean, look how long just it was just to get maternity leave. Look at how they did women when they got pregnant. They were just fired. You're pregnant, you're fired. We don't need you anymore. So
That
and
that still
then
happens.
you may have a single mother that's supporting her family on her own. She may walk a little lighter, and not cause too many waves because it's very important for her to keep her job. She's got herself and her children to take care of, and it's very difficult. That's what I believe, and that's the short answer.
So
How
you
about
so
you,
you mean
Jim?
it's not so you mean it's not because men are more valuable than women? I always thought it was because
That is
Yeah.
definitely not the
Hey,
reason.
Chris, keep
Although
going. Elaborate. I
many
want Chris to
men, many
elaborate.
men,
Come
especially
on.
those, well, the problem is that many of the industries are led by men, and there's a boys club.
Yeah, that's true.
And so they keep the women out, or as you were saying, they create an environment where it's not written anywhere, but it's the culture of the workplace where women have to stay in their place. They can rise up to a certain point, but how
Mhm.
dare they actually do their jobs well and do it better than their managers? So managing up becomes a thing. Um, and they still have the power. Um, and that's actually one of the many reasons I have quit
Quit.
11, no, 10, no, 11 jobs because I have 12 now. I'm on my 12th job.
I won't even ask you. I'm not gonna even ask you. I'm not gonna touch that one.
Ask me
Um,
what?
uh, I'm not gonna ask you what I'm not gonna ask you about your current job.
Oh. Well,
Yes.
there's also situations where women do have the roles. Women are in charge, but they're still not being paid what they should. There was one
This
at my
is true.
second job that I went to after working 6 days a week.
Hmm.
I found out that the intern, I was a full time employee, and I found out that the intern, who was also paid, a white male, made more than me.
Oh yes. Yeah.
So I have never been the type to
Yep.
be. I don't care what kind of rules you set for me. I will go tell somebody,
Yeah.
that that's wrong. And so I had in that situation, I had to go all the way up to the general manager.
Right.
And then they all called me into this meeting, the general manager, my boss, HR, and the person in charge of payroll. Had to they arranged a meeting where they tried to tell me that I didn't mean that they were racist. Because I said that to their faces. That could only be the only reason
Yeah, he told
that you would pay an intern.
You didn't mean that.
Yes. And I said, well, actually, I know the difference between racist and prejudice, and you shouldn't be proud of either. Because they were proud that they were prejudiced, but they didn't want to be called
They will
racist.
be racist. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so yeah, I think the
is
problem
it
is that most industries are dominated by incompetent men, and so therefore they keep the competent women down as much as they can.
Okay. All right.
That's
Hey
really what
Tony,
I think.
Yes, Chris.
my wife just fired me.
No, she didn't fire
Are,
you. She did not fire you.
are there
Now,
are there
you
laws
still have
against
dishes to wash. So now she might
yeah.
fire you after you finish washing the dishes, but not right now.
Are there laws against paying people differently, or there are just no laws about that?
Well, first you have to understand because you have to know that you're being paid differently and prove it, in which I had all of that together. Um, and then there are like many places. I was working at one place where I was happy with my salary, but it turned out I was still not in the range I was supposed to be, and there was an audit that HR conducted an audit of what ranges are typical for that market for that job, and they had to give us all those of us, few of us who were below that range, into that range. Um, so um, you, well, actually, I've talked to an attorney about that. I was told that if A, you have to prove it, and B, if they won't put you at least in the range, then you have to come up with reasons why
Okay.
for it to be illegal.
Yeah. You have to kind of prove some
And in my
type of
case,
discrimination.
intern versus full-time
Full-time,
employee
yeah.
is definitely definitely a case. And they were afraid that the very next thing I did was, well, I booked a Klansman too, but I booked the head of the NAACP, and that made them nervous. So I got my money.
All right. Hey, Chris, how many jobs have you quit from?
I think I've only quit one in my
Really?
Wow.
life. Yeah.
And what was your reason for quitting?
I was working as a grocery store person during my college years in Minnesota, and I moved to Florida from Minnesota. And I was in Florida now, back in my home state, and I took a job at a grocery store, figuring I would just do the same thing. But whereas in Minnesota I was getting $6.15 an hour back in the 70s, they were in Florida were going to pay me like $2 something an hour. It's like, the disparity of where we live.
Wow.
But anyway, I took the job, and it was a night crew job, stocking the shelves at night. I was young, my early 20s. So doing the job, and they kept saying, now do this, now push. Anyway, it was odd. Something was odd. Something was off. And I've been working since I was a kid, collecting bottles, mowing lawns, the usual thing. Working construction business as I became older, different things. And so I've worked hard all my life until I got married. But anyway, I finally, one night, the guy in charge of the night crew said, now pull everything forward, front the shelves, face the shelves off before we go home. So we're all pulling everything forward. After dinner break, he says, now push everything back. We have to do an inventory. And I said, something is just wrong. I don't know what's wrong with this job. Anyway, I was so frustrated, and I just said, I quit. And I walked out, and I walked off the job. I've never done that in my life. That was the only time I did it. Come to find out, the reason this grocery manager at night was making us do stupid stuff was because he was in the back room loading up the trunk of his buddy's car with cigarettes he was stealing and beer he was stealing. So
Wow.
the ridiculousness was due to he was trying to keep us busy out front while he was robbing the store blind.
Wow.
That is something.
That is something.
So I've only quit one job. Mostly when I get a job, I stick to it. Right, honey?
You've left job.
No, I've left job when I moved, of course. And of course, there's the restraining orders and the lawsuits. But yeah.
Has your wife quit a job? And if so, how many?
I don't know. Hang on. Are we still married? No, she isn't.
Not like disgruntled or left,
Not disgruntled. She's only quit jobs to better herself, like to marry me,
baby.
to have a baby, to marry me, stuff like that.
Well, actually,
That's a good point.
that leads to my next question. So when we're talking about quitting a job, are we talking about, like Chris said, just quit, I quit, and you walk out? Or are we talking about you quit with notice?
Well, I was always taught that notices are a courtesy,
Yeah. So
that it's not required, but it's courteous if you do. So I've always given notices, but I've always asked them, like, I can just leave now if you'd like. And they were like, no, you can, please stay. I had one job where I gave notice, and they kept me around for 6 more weeks. And still asked me to come back the day after that.
That's on you. That's on you.
But I didn't.
But which are we? No. So yeah, I know. But I think like Chris said, that job, he's I
Just
quit.
out.
I'm out.
I'm out.
I'm out, and boom, walk out, gone. Not worried. You're
I think
not
some
worried about
jobs
your
are-
check, your last check. You don't care. You're just out.
And the story that Chris told, I would have done the exact same thing. I wouldn't have given a notice.
Yeah.
But in my industry, I do.
Oh,
I've never just walked out.
Well, check this out, and people, even
Thought about it, but I haven't.
employer gets real weird when you quit, like on the spot. So there was this place that I used to contract to. So I wasn't an employee. I contracted my services out to them, and I was there, and I knew most of the employees there. And this one guy, he comes in Friday, is payday. This is before they used to direct deposit checks. And he said, I quit. Now give me my check. And he still had one more check that was supposed to come, but he quit and he wanted his check because it was payday. Then they start saying, first they said, you can't quit. You have to give 2 weeks notice. No, I don't. No, I don't have to give 2 weeks notice. Like you said, it's a courtesy. And well, we don't have your check. It's not here. This is hell yeah, my check is here. Everybody else is getting their check. Give me my check. Check's not here. And they kept telling him that. And that went on for about 30 minutes. And then he said, I'll tell you what, if you don't give me my check, I am going to kick your ass all over this place. I'm going to snatch you out of your office, because there was a glass thing there, but there was no lock. There was like no lock on the door.
You.
I'm going to snatch, and I'm going to whip your ass all over the place. Well, then I'll call the police. He said, I don't care. I've been in jail before. I can do time. It ain't no problem, but I'm going to kick your ass first. We going to call the police now. All right. I'm going to whip your ass before they get here then. And all of a sudden they had his check. Here's your check.
So why even play that game?
Yeah, that's what I'm
With
saying. And some employers get, weird when you say, hey, I just quit on the spot. It's payday. And it's not legal for them to hold your checks.
Remember when I had to, I didn't quit on the spot, but remember when I had to show up to tell them I'm here to get that last check. I didn't quit on the spot. We had an agreement of when I would get the check.
That's right. And they tried to hold
Jill's
it. Checks. And this is a big place that all of you are familiar with, that you can turn on your TV right now and watch the place that she used to work for. And they tried to hold her checks.
Mm-hmm. That's the only place where that's ever happened to me.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I think we got Monica.
Yep, coming. And Dave and Sam said, sorry. Hi, guys. Sorry we are late. That's okay.
You got it?
I think I got her. Yes, Monica's on the stage.
Hello,
Hi,
Monica, one of my favorite people.
Oh, how you guys doing?
We're okay.
We're doing good.
Good.
So you're doing better than me today, but we're good.
Well, yeah, but overall, in the big picture, stuff is going good.
So to chime into your question, if something goes against your morals, your principles, and your integrity, under all circumstances, you should resign. I had a situation happen last year where, when we were really in it was last year. The heart of COVID, early part of last year. And I was a CCO, COVID compliance officer, on a huge movie set, big movie. And I think I was working with about 5 or 6 other CCOs. And I have never, ever, ever been in. Okay, so this is how bad it was. I got 3 complaints on the first night I started. My history of working as a COVID compliance officer, as an OSHA compliance officer, I've worked with huge, big billion-dollar companies, multi-million-dollar movie sets, have never, ever, 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 ever had a complaint. These people were so intimidated by my experience because they heard about my experience before I got to the movie set. Well, the complaints were so ridiculous that I knew I was going to have to resign. And I've never, ever, 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 ever done that. But I literally quit 2 days later. And it was like a 2-month movie set. Oh, I was
wow.
out. I was out.
These fools
I was
are
out.
nuts.
Peace out.
I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, they were making up stuff and, but she didn't stand in the right place. That was one of the complaints. And I was like,
Okay.
okay, we're on a movie set with 200 people and we're changing scenes and you complaining because I'm not standing in the right place. You gotta be. So it was so hostile of a work environment that I thought about it, prayed about it, talked to my boyfriend about it, even talked to my attorney about it. And he was like, Monica, that is beyond a hostile work environment. And I was like, yep, that's all I needed. I'm out. And they were
That's right. That's right. Out.
oh yeah. I mean they were stunned because the money was freaking fabulous. But you know what? Sometimes it's not about the money, it's
Isn't
about
that
your
that's the
principle.
truth?
I mean, these people, I mean, it was fabulous money. I didn't give a rat's pink butt about that money. I was out,
That's
out, 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 out. Because it went against everything that I stood for. They were mean spirited, they were being malicious for no reason. And it was just crazy. So I think if it goes against your morals, your principles, your values, your integrity, I think you don't have a choice. You got to go.
I
Yeah.
wholeheartedly agree. And I have the big place that Tony was speaking of earlier, that's exactly why I left.
Yeah. And when you're talking about integrity, so this is a situation where this is when I worked for myself and I was a over the road contractor for trucks. And this is funny because I was in Canada. People in Canada are supposed to be really nice. I was in Canada and they hired me to take special products, all this high end equipment from Canada down to Miami. So no problem. So, but it was a big job. So I hired a crew and the crew just happened to be all black, plus me. And we get there on time. Everything is fine. We're loading everything up, and we're doing it very quickly because we do this a lot. We know what we're doing. It's very quick. Time is money. So we're loading the truck, and the customer comes out, and he comes out, grumbles something, and then he leaves. Then he comes back in 5 minutes and he starts cussing my whole crew out. He's calling them every word you could imagine. And I just looked at him for a minute and I said, sir, you can stop right now. We're all people. You come out here and you try to treat us like we're nobodies, like we're less than type of people. And I said, I'll tell you something I'll do right now. If you don't shut your mouth, I'm going to take all this stuff off of my truck and leave. He shut his mouth, turned around, and left. And then he came back in 2 minutes and he said, okay. You got me. You're right. You got me. I said, I'm not trying to get you. I'm not trying to do anything to you. I'm just trying to get you to treat us like people. You're the customer. If you want us to load it slower, we'll load it slower. But we're professionals. We know what we're doing. But you
Yeah.
don't have to come out here and cuss everyone out here like they're nobodies.
But you know what,
Not having it.
Anthony? I'm gonna tell you what I call that, and it's not. I don't mean to be offensive, and I hope I don't offend anybody. But I call that people having a plantation mentality.
Well, but that's the thing. It was
Because
in
see, a lot.
Canada. It was in Canada. So check this out. After that, after I get the truck loaded, uh, one employee after another start coming up to me. They said that he treats everybody like that. It doesn't matter whether they're white, black. They said, but all of them were too afraid to say anything to him because that was their boss.
Is that his idea
That-
of power?
Yes. Yes. So he did it to anybody. He didn't care whether they were black, white, Asian. He didn't care. He just cussed out everybody.
Well, I'm glad
Not
that
me.
you were the person that was on the assignment that day to course correct his happy ass.
Mhm.
I'm seriously, because sometimes it takes that to really to kind of make people aware of what they do and how they act. And see, I mean, you know this, Anthony and Jill, there's so many different management and leadership styles, but I think the two that I hate the most that I see with a lot of people is they manage by fear or they manage by intimidation. And those are just not good positive management styles. You know what I'm saying?
Nope. It is. They are not.
Especially if they combine those two styles with uh, when they're passive aggressive.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And passive aggressive.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. That
Yeah,
is, that
yeah.
is a tip.
I'll agree with you on those two types of styles,
Yeah. And do you
and
know?
especially since they most of the time they have no reason to do that. That their team is perfectly fine to do the work, and most of
Mhm,
the time they just do it because they think they can
yeah.
until someone shows them that they can't.
And you know, every single time I've seen someone just quit on the spot, and you know, they're like, "I'm out." Um, they were they had good reason to quit on the spot, just like Chris said.
Yeah,
This
Chris had a very good
manager was
reason.
having him do stupid stuff. He's like, "This doesn't make any sense. I'm out. I'm not wasting my time with this. I'm not." So I don't blame him. Um, like I said, you know, with me, I typically never stayed at a place long enough to, you know, get so pissed off that I'm quit. I quit one job before I even started.
Why? I think I remember this one, but
Oh no,
why?
you do not remember
I
this
don't
one.
remember it?
No, no, no,
What happened?
no. So, this is when I was younger, and I was just I don't remember what I was doing, but I just was looking for something to make a few extra dollars. And I found this ad about selling roses. Selling roses. And, oh, you know, you're gonna make money, you're gonna do this, you're gonna make tons
How
of
young
money.
were you?
Yeah. Huh?
How young were you?
Oh, I don't know. I was like 19, 20. I don't know. I don't know. But I was just looking for something just to make a few dollars. You know, if I can sell some roses or something. And this guy is like, yeah, you're gonna make $100 a day, blah blah blah, selling roses, blah blah blah. And so, and then he kept calling me. He kept calling. I need you to come tomorrow because we're gonna train a whole bunch of people how to sell roses, and I need you there tomorrow. You're gonna be there. Yeah. I'll be there. But then it wasn't feeling right. You know, this guy just was not feeling right to me. So I called him back and I said, "Hey, I can't do this. I can't do this job. This doesn't feel right." And he cussed me out. So see, that just goes. He cussed me out from one.
For more reason.
Yes. So I said, "See, my feeling was correct. I shouldn't have even ventured to do that." So
Chris says his management style is napping.
snappy,
Napping.
napping. Y'all do your work while I go
Well,
in
I
the back
my
and
sleep.
take a little
Get my
nap.
nap.
That's funny. That's funny. Now here's the thing, Jill. Do you ever well, sometimes the employees sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not.
True.
But employees will believe they know how to run the business better than their manager.
Sometimes they do.
Sometimes they do.
And
sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes they do, though.
I've seen both situations. The people that actually can do it better than their manager, they actually quit.
Yes.
The people that actually can't do it better than their manager, they don't quit. They stay.
Well,
Even if they have valid reasons for quitting, but they
Yes.
still stay.
Yes. Someone who used to head up a big HR department once told me people don't leave companies, they leave people. They don't leave because of the company, they leave because of the people. And I don't believe that either, because I think that, sure, there are certain personalities that, don't click with you.
Mhm.
But most of the time, it's the company culture that makes me quit. It's that these people are allowed to be the way
Well,
that
yeah.
allowed to act the way they do, because
Yeah.
that's the
Well,
culture.
well, you were in a type A type
Mm,
business,
where the A stood for a certain word.
It's like could I work as a stockbroker? Working on a stock exchange? No,
No.
never. I know. I would not fit. I wouldn't
It
fit.
does take a certain
takes
type
a-
of person to do
yeah.
that. Yes.
I wouldn't.
Yes.
Now I've met some stockbrokers,
Hmm.
and all of them don't fit that stereotype of a stockbroker.
Are they happy in that role?
They said they were.
Hmm.
So I never.
And people have different gauges of happiness and
Mhm.
success too. Because some people are like, well, they're paying me enough, so I'm happy. But they hate everything about the job. Whereas,
Yeah.
I don't. I always
Well-
wanted combat pay for every job I had.
Well, but that's the thing. They say everybody has their price. I was
Mhm.
asking you about that maybe last week.
You were. Yep.
And we all say, "Oh, I would never do that type of job for any money." But then I wonder, is there a price you would do that job? Is there a price? We say things that that our integrity is important, but how often would the average person just sell themselves out for the money? Just throw their morals away for the money.
I think it depends on the reason. Like maybe you needed the money, or else somebody was going to kill you. Or something,
No, there's
something
no
like that.
No, there's no death in it. There's nothing like that. Nothing you're being forced to, you need the money because you're being forced to do something else, or somebody's gonna die if you don't. No, nothing like that. Just that, your life, you're going on in your life. Everything is okay. You're not rich. You're not saving a lot of money. And then there may be a job you would say, I would never do that. Like I said, I would never be a stockbroker. Well, I wonder if there's a price and someone came to me and said, I'll pay you this much to be a stockbroker. And I would say, okay.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. I really don't know that about myself.
For those of you who didn't see our show last week, we were in Louisville, Kentucky, and as part of for a writing thing, and as part of that writing residency, I was cast in 2 short plays. They were like 2 minutes each, and in one of them, I was cast because the person who was doing the casting thought I would never go to a strip club and interview for a job.
So
So she cast me. So the role was playing someone who didn't look like they belonged in a strip club, interviewing for a
For a
job.
job, yeah.
And so, like, when she said it, I was like, "What makes you say that? Like,
So-
how do you know?"
Jill, what you got against strip clubs, girl?
I
What's going
don't.
on?
That's what I'm saying. I don't have anything against strip clubs. That's what I'm saying.
So let me
So
ask you
I was
this. I'm gonna
upset
put- I'm
that
gonna
she
put you
thought
on the
I would
spot.
never be that I would never dress the part or go seek employment there. Because Tony can tell you, I've talked several times
Look.
before I got the job I have now. I talked several times to him about, well, maybe
Hey.
I should go to Magic City.
Hey,
So
hey, Monica.
let me ask you this. I'm gonna go ahead and embarrass you. I hate to do it. You're so cute. You're so cute. But have you ever been to a strip club, Miss Conservative?
Absolutely, I have several.
Girl, I do not believe that.
No, I have.
If you
She
was
sure
Pinocchio,
wasn't with
that
me
no,
when
I
she
wasn't
went.
with Tony. I was with some girlfriends, but yes, I've been to both a strip. Once I had to actually in a TV job, they sent me to be undercover to get
See,
a job.
that's different. Come on, Jill.
But
I'm
I've
talking
been
about when
as a
you
regular
going-
person. I've been off the clock at strip clubs. I don't have a problem with strip
believe it.
clubs.
I don't believe it. I don't believe
I
it.
don't,
true.
I don't believe
believe
it either,
it.
Monica.
I'm telling you, I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
I am not that uptight.
Hey,
Girl,
Monica,
please.
let me tell you. Let me tell you something
what,
else.
if you ever go to Magic City, you gonna want to go back, Miss Lady. I'm telling you, okay? Quiet as is kept. That's what I heard. Okay, I just heard that. You know what I'm saying?
She don't need to go to Magic City.
I have talked about it several times.
One thing is, once she walked in, they would say, "What are you doing here?
See,
You're not
I
supposed
promise
to
you
be
they
here."
would.
They would. Now I'm gonna tell you something else.
I
Now,
can dress the part.
if she wanted to be a dancer at one of those clubs, we don't want that either. Cause Jill will get on that pole and break her neck. And I don't want her to break her neck.
That's why you
On a
need to
pole.
install the pole in our bedroom, and I'll go take some pole dancing lessons or something.
No. And you really have to be in shape to work that
That's
pole.
why I want to take.
And-
How many times have I said to you, I'm going to sign up for a pole dancing for exercise?
Yeah, you said it.
That's right.
You said it's all right.
I keep looking for the one closest to us.
Y'all
I
are
do.
funny. Y'all are funny.
You said it, but no, baby, we
I
don't
don't-
need you on a pole. No.
What do you have against
I would
it?
do better on a pole than you.
I don't think so. No, you wouldn't.
I'll come down that pole head first, nice and slow.
No, you wouldn't. Then you'd be like, uh-oh.
There's
You'd be
the
like, hit
pole.
some. Uh-oh.
There's the pole. Slide on down that pole.
Then you hit your head and you'll be like, oh, Jill was right.
No, I used to be very athletic.
So
yeah,
Jill, I'm
Yes.
gonna make an offer, my love. So the next time me and my crew go to Magic City, because quiet as is kept. We
don't you take my wife to Magic
I would
City.
go. I would surely go.
Jill,
I
seriously,
would.
I'm
My
going
wife
to
to
invite you.
Magic
I- 'cause
City.
It's a crew of us that like to go. The food is fabulous and the scenery is interesting. Okay.
Yep. I know.
Don't you? Now, I would not stop her if she wanted to go, but I said, don't take my wife to Magic City.
Well, I'm
Why?
taking her.
So you're the one with the problem?
I
taking
don't have
her.
the problem. I'm trying to look out for you, my darling. Shoot.
What you skirt of, Anthony? What you skirt of?
Hey, look. You know how
All we gonna do is eat wings, and I get to look at all the fine ass men to be in there looking at the fine ass women. How about that?
That's
Come on
right.
now. We going, Jill. We ain't listening to him.
Okay.
We gonna call you, girl. We gonna ride out.
Don't you take
Why?
I actually have been in Magic City many years ago, but I've been in Magic City.
So why you
couple
have something
times.
against my going?
Well, this is this is why, Jill. You know how your journalism friends, they used to say things like, let's bring Tony with us because he's street. That's what they used to say.
Because none of them was street. Not just me, but none of
Let's
them.
bring Tony because he's street, which is true. You know, I grew up in New York. I know a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And all the little things that go on in Magic City that no one is supposed to see, you will
I would
see.
be with Monica.
Dude, I am ex law enforcement and a
That's
private
right.
detective.
Yeah, you
What
got
in the world? Plus, I know the owner of Magic City. So, what you think somebody got to worry about? Come on here, Tony. Stop it.
That's right.
My wife is pure. Take her.
See, all
Take
she
her to
gonna do
Magic
is come
City.
home.
I might
and-
learn something. Come
and-
back
See,
with it.
Tony, all she gonna do is come home with a stack of ones, and she gonna make it rain. She gonna make it rain,
No,
Tony.
she come home with a stack of ones, then I'm gonna be worried.
Get my little gun
I'ma-
to shoot the money.
She'll come home talk about, you know what? I'm quitting my job tomorrow. I'll be like, what you talking about? Yeah, them dudes wanted to see a woman with some clothes on. They've been watching them naked women so many times. They want to see a woman with some clothes on. Start tipping you. No, but you know, it's not magic. Take her. No, don't you take her. She can go. You going there. But you know what?
Like I needed your permission.
Why don't you go tonight?
Well, tonight's not a good night, but I'll go next.
Every night's a good night.
No, for me. Unless we end the show now.
Show's over,
Get in the
folks.
car
Jill's
now.
going to Magic City.
Get in the car now. But I got to change clothes first.
Into what?
Into like something, sexier.
I can do it. I can do it if I put my...
Don't you start with that. You're not right. That is not right.
Oh, Lordy.
We going, Jill. I can't
Okay.
wait. We
Yeah,
gonna-
all right.
we gonna take
I'd really
pictures,
go.
we gonna take videos. We gonna
All
scare
right.
Anthony to death.
Oh yeah, go on to Magic City. But you know what? And I know I shouldn't say this on air.
Oh God.
My God.
Then why are you saying
Oh,
it?
But I'm gonna say
Oh,
it.
Jesus.
Lord.
I'm gonna say it because a lot of people know it. Jill is a lesbian magnet.
see, I already knew that. I already knew that. And see, tell you what's gonna happen. She gonna come home with a stack of money. It's gonna be because she cute.
The dancers
She cute.
are going.
And they
The
gonna want them.
dancers
They
are
gonna
going
want
to.
them.
Yeah, she might, because the dancers will be giving her money.
I
It won't
believe
be
it.
the men; it'll be the dancers.
I believe it. I
Yeah.
believe it. That's gonna be another income revenue stream for her.
I'll be like, Jill, yeah, I will. You know, I'm having a whole change of mind.
Now you're gonna let me go.
Go down to Magic City and let the dancers give you some tips.
Yes.
Yes, that's the plan.
I don't.
I know
don't-
they got the ones because they making it rain onto the dancers, so they got plenty of ones. So yeah, the dancers are going to give you tips just for sitting, just
Yep.
for sitting.
Yep.
I
Now that could happen.
I don't believe
That
that.
could happen. That
No,
could
I don't
that
happen.
believe
could
that.
that could happen.
But aren't
did
you
we-
proud of her, Tony? She is creating another income stream, Tony.
Hey, I cannot tell you the amount of times we've been out and a lesbian would try to take Jill away
A
from
long
me.
I
time
believe
ago.
that.
That was a long
I
time
believe that.
ago.
Oh no, it
That
happens.
didn't happen. Like we've been going places all of this year, and
Check
that
this
hasn't
out.
happened.
We were in New Orleans, and this is one club.
A long time ago, not
This
recently.
the one club that we like to go there on,
You've already
on Bourbon
told this
Street.
story.
Has everyone heard this story?
Yes.
No,
they've heard
I
this story.
haven't.
See, there we go. So,
Monica, you know you heard this story.
so we're in New Orleans, and this is a dance club on Bourbon Street, and we like it because they have an upstairs also. So, you know, if you want to get away from the noise, you can go there and, you know, sit down and have a drink, and then you can come back down, and they got live music and everything. It's a pretty cool place. So, Jill and I and everybody was just out there dancing on the floor, and then this other woman, she gets closer and closer. Then she gets in between Jill and I, and then she starts trying to push me out the way, and Jill going the other way, right? Right, but check it out. I knew what the woman was doing.
I thought she
So
was just
I wasn't
dancing because she
threatened.
didn't have anybody to dance with.
I wasn't threatened, but everybody in the club knew what that woman was doing. So all of us were watching, waiting to see how long Jill figured out that woman would try to take her away from me.
How
That
long
was a
did
long
it take?
time
How
ago,
long did it
sweetheart.
take Jill to figure it out, Tony?
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Well, when Tony
That's
says
a
I have a
long
certain
time.
move that brings them in. I was just dancing, having a good time. Thought
5
she
minutes.
was too.
5 minutes, and then after 5 minutes, man, that lesbian really started pushing up on her, you know.
Uh-oh.
That's what I
And
got.
that's when Jill did like this. She said, and ran off the dance floor.
That's hilarious. Oh my God.
I've
But that
had,
was a long time ago, sweetheart.
I've
Don't live
had-
in the past.
I've
Live
had,
in the present.
I've had lesbians invite us, both of us, out to the movies. It's fine. We have several lesbian friends. We got a lot of lesbian friends. So that's fine. Yeah, we can all hang, no problem. But they did not want me there.
Of course not.
She was like, why don't you
Look
go
here, Tony.
somewhere
Let me
else?
tell you what. We don't take sand to the beach, baby. What we need you for? We don't take sand to the beach, baby.
That's right. Should not have invited me in the first place. You see? Well, you don't come up here. I know what you doing. You try to take my woman away from me. It ain't happening. It ain't happening.
Hilarious.
I'm not threatened.
That was still a very long time ago.
All we
So,
need to
not
do is
now.
go out more and see what happens.
We've been going out this whole year.
No, we
Didn't happen.
haven't.
It didn't happen in Louisville. May said, by the way, anyone call the hotel and ask for the Cordovas in Kentucky. I did wonder not long after we first got there, the hotel phone rang, and I just looked at it like, who knows we're here?
Yeah, probably.
But of course, it was the hotel, making sure everything was okay.
Yeah.
So-
No, when we're in Kentucky, it's women trying to take me away from Jill. That's what happens.
Did
there.
that happen this time?
It didn't happen this time, which was good.
I was going to say I missed it if it happened.
It didn't. It didn't happen. Nope. I stayed in the room. I don't want any trouble. Well, Jill, we're just about out of time.
We
here.
are.
need to-
We are.
And I wanna especially thank Chris and Monica
Yes.
and
thank
everyone
you
else
all.
in the audience, because when the both of you are in our audience, we just have
We have so much
a great
fun.
time.
That's always true.
So I'm just waiting for you and Monica to go to Magic City or
Jill,
Onyx.
girl,
I'm
call
ready.
you,
Seriously,
Jill.
I would go. And,
Oh, yeah,
and we
I'm
need to
gonna
meet
call
you
you.
in person anyway, Monica.
Yeah, I'm gonna call you. We're gonna work that thing out. Woohoo!
Okay.
Come on, get them ones ready, girl. Come on, let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, we got to end this show. We got to end this one and this one.
Yeah. Well, we'll be
Um,
back next week with some topic. I don't know what it is, though, because I don't think we've scheduled a topic.
We haven't?
I don't think so.
Guess we better do that.
But we're gonna do. Well, we will be back, And next up is Dave and Sam with How Was Your Day?
Yes, and they were in the audience earlier.
Yep.
We didn't say what's up, y'all.
I said hi.
Say hi.
I said hi.
All right. All right.
So
all
bye,
good.
everybody. Thank you all.
Love you
and Chris,
all.
thank your wife too for us.
Yes, we finally heard
We
her
loved
voice.
it. Yay.
She does exist. She does exist. I thought Chris was telling a fib
No, you
all
didn't.
of these years. Yeah. No. Yeah, I have a wife. Yeah, right. You know how guys used to say, I have a girlfriend, but she lives across the other side of the country. I have a girlfriend. That's what they used to say when they didn't have a girlfriend.
When they didn't. Okay.
Nobody's ever seen. People think you didn't have a husband.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
They didn't know you were real for a
Yeah.
long time.
All right. Well, let's end this show.
All right.
We're
Well,
gonna
thanks,
turn
everybody.
off
We
the-
love you all.
Yes, we do. Really love you all. Hey, and y'all check out my show, The Soul Reader, if you're not afraid, on Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock.
But you have a show this Saturday, too.
And I do, yeah, Poetic People Fighting Racism.